They laughed when I said I'd make it. They rolled their eyes when they saw me working nights while everyone else was out having fun. To them, I was just another loser with dreams too big for his pocket. But I knew one thing: laughter fades, success doesn't. And when I came back wearing a suit and driving my own car, none of them could even look me in the eyes. Back then, I had nothing. No fancy education. No connections. No backup plan. Just a second-hand laptop, a rented room that smelled of mold, and a dream that felt too heavy to carry. Every morning started the same: the alarm buzzing at 5 a.m., the room freezing, my stomach empty. I'd wash my face with cold water, stare in the cracked mirror, and whisper, "Let's go again." That was my ritual. Not motivation, not inspiration, just survival. While others posted about parties and vacations, I posted job applications. While they slept in, I dragged myself to construction sites, warehouses, and cafes, anything that would pay for one more day of trying. I remember one winter morning clearly. I was walking to work and my shoes had holes so deep that every step soaked my socks. I passed a group of my old classmates standing next to their cars, laughing. One of them shouted, "Still chasing that fantasy of yours? Come on, man. Get a real job." I smiled. I didn't answer, because I knew one day the silence would speak louder than my words. At night after work, I'd sit in that tiny room and learn. Videos, courses, tutorials, anything I could get for free. I studied business, marketing, design, sales, every skill that could move me 1 inch closer to freedom. It was hard. My body wanted to sleep, but my mind refused to rest. I wanted to quit, but every time I thought about giving up, I remembered their laughter. It burned in me like fire, the best kind of pain. The breakthrough didn't come from luck. It came from obsession. One night, while freelancing for a small online job, I realized that most people didn't fail because they were stupid. They failed because they stopped too early. So I made myself a promise. No matter how long it takes, I won't stop. Days turned into months. I lost friends. People said I was wasting my youth. Even my family started doubting me. My mom once said, "You're smart, but maybe the world just doesn't work like that." Maybe she was right, but I couldn't accept it. Because if I did, that meant they'd win. Then came the first sign of hope. A client from another country sent me an offer, $50 for a design project. It wasn't much, but it was everything to me. That payment felt like $1 million. When I got that first message that said, "Payment sent," I stared at the screen for 5 minutes straight. My heart was racing. It wasn't about the money, it was the proof. Proof that what I was building wasn't just a dream. From there I built slowly. $50 turned into $200. $200 turned into $800. Then I reinvested every cent. No parties, no clothes, no distractions. Just me, my laptop, and my mission. My friends thought I was crazy. "Bro, you need to live a little," they said. But they didn't understand. I was living. I was finally building something that was mine. The nights got longer. Sometimes I'd work until sunrise, my eyes burning, my hands shaking. But with every small win, I grew stronger. I started believing that maybe, just maybe, the life I wanted wasn't impossible. And then, it happened. One morning, I woke up to see an email that changed everything. A company I'd applied to months ago wanted to collaborate, long-term. It was my first real contract. I signed it with trembling hands. That day, I walked to my old job, handed in my resignation, and walked out into the cold morning air with a smile that wouldn't fade. When I came home, I opened my laptop, looked at my old notes, and whispered, "You did it. But don't stop here." Because success wasn't a finish line, it was proof that pain can be turned into power. Weeks later, I saw the same people who used to laugh at me. They asked how I'd done it, what the secret was. But there was no secret. There was only grind, patience, and pain. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't need to. My car, my confidence, and my calm silence said everything for me. When people ask me today what changed, I tell them the truth. Nothing changed except me. Because once you stop caring what they think and start proving what you can do, the world can't ignore you anymore. Money changes your life. But the truth they don't tell you is, it changes you first. When I started making real money, I thought the struggle was finally over. No more cold rooms, no more instant noodles, no more avoiding calls from the landlord. But I was wrong. The struggle doesn't disappear, it just evolves. At first, everything felt unreal. Clients were coming in faster than I could handle. Emails, deadlines, payments, numbers I'd never seen before flashing on my phone. I still remember the first time I transferred $10,000 to my bank. My hands were shaking as I watched the confirmation screen. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, "You did it. You actually did it." For a moment I thought I was free. But freedom comes with a price: pressure. People started noticing. The same ones who once laughed now wanted to catch up. They didn't see the years of pain, the sleepless nights, the rejections. They only saw the success, the result, not the road. Old friends texted me, "Hey man, you've changed." No, I hadn't changed. I'd grown. But they couldn't see the difference. Some of them wanted help. Others wanted a piece. And when I said no, they called me arrogant. Funny, isn't it? When you're broke, no one answers your calls. When you win, everyone wants a favor. I started working harder than ever. More clients. Bigger deals. New partnerships. But with every new level, the silence around me grew louder. I was surrounded by people, yet I felt completely alone. The same hunger that once pushed me forward now began to eat me alive. One night, around 3 a.m., I sat in front of my laptop staring at a contract worth $50,000. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of. But I couldn't feel anything. No joy. No excitement. Just emptiness. The truth hit me like a punch. I'd built success on top of pain, not peace. A week later, I went back to my hometown. I wanted to remind myself where I came from. Same streets. Same stores. Same cold wind that used to sting my face when I walked home from work. But something felt different. I felt different. The city hadn't changed. I had. I walked past the coffee shop where I used to sit with my laptop, dreaming of a better life. Now people stared at me like I didn't belong. A few recognized me from social media. "Hey man, you really made it, huh?" I smiled, but deep down I wondered, what did I really make? That night I stayed in a cheap motel, lying awake, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking about meaning. Was this what success was supposed to feel like? You spend years climbing a mountain, and when you reach the top, you realize there's no one there to celebrate with you. Just wind and silence. The next morning, I visited my old friend Marcus. He still lived in the same neighborhood, still worked the same job. But when I walked into his garage, he smiled wider than anyone I'd seen in months. "Damn," he laughed, "look at you. Fancy watch, nice car. You're really doing it." I laughed too, but it felt forced. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You always wanted to win. But don't lose yourself doing it." At first I brushed it off. But those words followed me back to the city, echoing every time I looked in the mirror. Back in my apartment, I noticed how quiet it was. No laughter. No friends. Just the hum of my computer and the ticking of the clock. I'd built a kingdom, but I was the only one living in it. That's when I realized I'd been running from failure, not toward purpose. So I did something crazy. I turned down a six-figure deal. Instead, I started mentoring small creators, people who reminded me of myself years ago. No money, just raw hunger. The first guy I helped made his first $500 online. When he messaged me saying, "You changed my life," I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. That's when it hit me. True success isn't what you earn. It's what you create for others. The months went by. My business grew even more, but this time I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing impact. I built a small team. We worked hard, laughed harder, and built something real, not perfect but honest. I finally felt like I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. But life doesn't stop testing you. When everything seemed stable, the economy crashed. Clients disappeared overnight. The projects we'd worked on for months got canceled. In a week, I lost half my income. My inbox filled with apologies and my phone went silent again. Old fears came rushing back. The fear of losing it all, the fear of returning to nothing. But this time, I wasn't that same scared kid with holes in his shoes. I'd been through worse. I'd built myself from pain. So instead of panicking, I adapted. I pivoted, learned new skills, diversified my work. I stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Try me." It wasn't easy. Some days I still doubted myself. But this time I wasn't chasing validation. I was chasing growth. A few months later, things turned around. The world changed, but I changed more. My business came back stronger. My team became family. And I learned something that took me years to understand. You don't become successful when you make money. You become successful when money stops controlling you. Now, when I look back, I don't see the pain as a curse. It was my teacher. It built the man I am today, disciplined, grateful, hungry. People still ask, "What's the secret?" I tell them, there is no secret. Just small steps, every day, even when no one's watching. And when they ask what drives me now, I tell them simply, it's not about proving them wrong anymore. It's about proving myself right. That's the real price of rising. Not losing money, not losing sleep, but losing the version of you who thought you'd never make it. And once that version dies, nothing can stop the new one from living. They say when you finally get everything you ever wanted, you'll feel complete. But the truth is, that's the biggest lie you'll ever believe. It's been 5 years since the night I stared at that old cracked laptop screen, wondering if I'd ever make it. Now I sit in a glass office high above the city that once swallowed me whole. The skyline looks endless, just like the dreams I used to have. People look at me and see success. The nice car, the tailored suits, the photos from conferences and awards. They think I've made it. But they don't see what it cost. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. And when you reach the top, you realize it's cold up here. Meetings, investors, travel, interviews, every day was packed. Everyone wanted a piece of me, a quote, a partnership, a secret formula. But inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Exhaustion. Not from work. From pretending. Pretending that I was okay. Pretending that the success I built was enough. Pretending that I didn't miss the days when I was just a kid with a dream and nothing to lose. One evening, I stayed late at the office. The city lights reflected off the windows like scattered stars. I opened an old folder on my computer, photos from when it all began. There I was, skinny, broke, sitting in a cheap cafe with my first notebook full of ideas. My eyes were tired but alive. Now I had everything, except that fire. That night I couldn't sleep. I drove for hours, no destination, just the hum of the engine and my thoughts. And then I saw it, a small diner on the side of the road, open 24 hours. Something about it felt familiar. I parked, went inside, and ordered coffee. There was a kid sitting in the corner, maybe 19. Cheap laptop, messy notes, headphones in. He looked just like me years ago. He glanced up, recognized me instantly, and froze. Wait, are you? I smiled. Yeah, that's me. He looked nervous. Man, I've been watching your videos for years. You inspired me to start my own thing. But it's so damn hard. No one believes in me. Sometimes I feel like giving up. I looked at him for a moment and saw my old self staring back. I told him, listen, I was you once. No one believed in me either. I failed more times than I can count. But that's what made me dangerous, because I learned to keep going even when no one was watching. He nodded, eyes wide. Then I said something I never planned to. You don't have to prove them wrong, kid. You just have to prove yourself right. He smiled. And for the first time in a long while, I did too. The next day, I called my assistant and canceled all my meetings. I took a flight, not to another business conference but back home, the place where it all began. I visited the same park where I used to sit on cold benches, writing goals on scraps of paper. And I realized something. Every moment of pain, every rejection, every failure, was necessary. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. A week later, I launched something new. Not another company. Not a brand. A foundation. For young dreamers with nothing but ambition. I called it Rise Again. We started small, mentoring, scholarships, free courses. But it grew faster than I expected. Hundreds of messages poured in from people who'd lost hope and found it again through our story. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing meaning. And it felt right. Months passed. I started traveling, not for business but for impact. Speaking at schools, community centers, even prisons. Telling my story not to brag but to remind people that pain doesn't have to define you, it can refine you. One night after a talk, a woman came up to me in tears. She said her son had almost given up on life, until he saw one of my old videos. Now he was starting his own business. She hugged me and whispered, "You saved him." I didn't know what to say. For once, words didn't matter. That moment was worth more than every dollar I'd ever made. But life has a way of testing your purpose. Success is easy to handle. Legacy, that's harder. One of my old business partners reached out. He wanted me back in the game, a massive deal, millions on the table, global scale. All I had to do was sign. It would make me richer than I'd ever dreamed. But I hesitated. For the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted more money. I wanted more meaning. That night, I sat in silence, staring at the contract. I could hear the words of that kid in the diner echoing in my head. It's so hard, sometimes I feel like giving up. And I realized, I didn't start this journey to make money. I started to break the cycle. The next morning I called my partner and said, "I'm out." He thought I was joking. No one walks away from this kind of deal, he said. I smiled. I just did. He called me crazy. Maybe I was. But for the first time in years I felt free. Now I live differently. Not smaller, just simpler. No more chasing. No more noise. I wake up before sunrise, make coffee, go for a run. I mentor a few young entrepreneurs, record videos, and spend time with people who make me feel alive. Not people who clap for me, people who keep me grounded. I still make money, sure. But now I make impact. And the funny thing? The more I focused on giving, the more life gave back. Looking back, I realized the real story wasn't about getting rich. It was about transformation. The money was just a tool, not the destination. The real reward was the man I became. If you told the broke version of me that one day he'd be here, helping others, living with purpose, he wouldn't believe you. He'd laugh and go back to his notebook. But that's the beauty of life. We don't always get what we want. We get what we need to become who we're meant to be. So if you're watching this, sitting in your small room, doubting yourself, thinking no one believes in you, remember this. One day you'll thank the pain. You'll thank every sleepless night. Because they're building the version of you that doesn't give up. You just have to keep moving. Even when it hurts. Even when it feels pointless. Because one day you'll look back and realize it all made sense. That's how I rose from nothing. That's how I found everything. And that's how I learned the truth. The goal was never to get rich. The goal was to become someone worth remembering.